Hi, welcome to our monthly webinar where we are going to talk about the CFM Knowledge Workshop. Joining me today is Kim Coffey and Starlin Berlinga, and we're actually going to chat about this new workshop that we just released, and we want to fill in any questions that you may have, provide a little bit more detail on what the workshop is, so that we can help answer questions and get you to earn your CFM.
Hi, and so in case you haven't heard of us, we are IFMA, the International Facility Management Association. We have been in the industry for over 40 years. We are present in over 130 countries with over 24,000 members globally. Our mission is to lead the future of the built environment to make the world a better place. And that's really what you as FMs are doing every single day, is helping make the world a better place. And our purpose is to help advance our collective knowledge, value, and growth for you guys to perform at the very highest level. I just also want to say really quick before we get too deep into the webinar, please drop where you are joining us from, and feel free to answer or ask any questions along the way. We will have a question and answer period towards the end of the webinar.
So just a quick review of the different trainings that we do offer. No matter where you are in your learning journey, we do have something available for you. Those who are new to facility management, or maybe you are in an adjacent role, the Essentials is a great starting point. Those who have been doing FM for a while, FMP or the SFP is a great, again, starting point for you. Those are the lifelong credentials that we do offer. If you're looking just to maybe fill some gaps in knowledge, the core competencies, again, you can review some of that information in those competencies and see if you can become the expert in what those cover. And then for those of you who have done the facility management work for 5 years or more, the CFM is going to be a really highlighted certification that you can earn to really showcase your knowledge and experience in facility management. And yes.
I'm sorry, Gail, I was going to say before we leave this slide, we're including this, even though our focus today is the CFM Knowledge Workshop. We're including this because IFMA believes in lifelong learning. The FM world of today is very different from 3 years ago, previous to the pandemic, and that was incredibly different from 5 or even 10 years ago. FMs are constantly asked to do more and to know more. So, as you are looking at your unique journey, this gives you an idea of a career progression based on, as Gail very well said, if you're brand new to the facilities arena, if this is something that you've just fallen into, you want to get some of that more formalized training. This slide just gives you an overview of what your different options are. But we are going to focus today on those of you who are wanting to get to the master level, which is the CFM, the Certified Facility Manager certification. It is a credential, but it's also a certification. We're going to talk about what that means in more detail. Thanks, Gail.
Absolutely.
So a little bit about the CFM exam itself. There is no training or coursework required. All of the preparatory materials and training that we offer are optional. The CFM exam is experience-based. So just depending on how long you've been in the industry and all the different things that you may have come across, you may be ready to go today without touching any of the training. But we do offer training as an option because we want you to feel confident and prepared as you walk into the exam. The exam is proctored. We have partnered with Prometric, and there are testing facilities across the globe. It is 180 questions, and you have 4 hours to take the exam. It is for experienced FM professionals. We'll go a little bit more into the eligibility requirements shortly, but it does cover the 11 core competencies that IFMA has identified as the 11 core competencies needed to be known by FMs to be successful.
And here they are. You'll see that 4 of them do collectively create the FMP credential, leaving the remaining 7 that we consider and refer to as the core competencies. So we're going to just kind of let you hover over this for a little bit before we move on to the next slide. But all of these are going to, again, as Starlin mentioned, be covered under the CFM. And on the application, this is where you're going to have to show your experience in at least 6 of these 11, but having experience in all 11 will definitely help you be a little bit more prepared to sit for that exam.
Exactly. And as you're looking at these topics, it's all related to facilities. So if you see project management, it that information is related to managing projects that you will typically be managing for facilities. Same with leadership and strategy, it is with a facility focus. So all of this helps you prepare for that CFM exam.
Okay, so here are the eligibility requirements that I was mentioning. There are these requirements in place to ensure that you have the experience in order to be able to sit for the exam. It's 5 years or more in FM, as Gail mentioned, at least 6 of the competencies that you saw in the previous slide, or 3 to 4 years in FM and a bachelor's or master's degree in FM in order to be able to sit for the exam. We do have a wonderful credentials team that is happy to take a look at your application and ensure that you are prepared and eligible to sit for the exam. And we'll be sharing some contact information there at the bottom. Credentials at ifma.org is a great resource to reach out to if you have questions about your eligibility.
And it doesn't mean that you have to have a title in your experience that says facility manager. We really do look at what were the tasks or what did you do in that position. So don't feel like if you don't have a title of facility manager that that's going to count against you. It will not. And I do just want to clarify because this question came up just the other day for me. A degree is not a requirement. Having a degree in a a bachelor's or master's in FM, it will help shorten the years of experience that you have to have, but it is not in and of itself a requirement to sit for the CFM exam. So 5 years or more of doing the tasks of a facility manager is what we're really looking for because it's based on experience. That's why there's no required training. It is based on your work experience, as it says on that slide, because you're going to answer questions that your experience is going to help you find the right one.
So we wanted to identify some of the steps. When people get excited, they're ready to sit for the exam. And then they think, oh man, maybe I need to look at some of those study resources because maybe, okay, it's go time. And now I'm anxious to take this exam. So we wanted to quickly identify what those steps are so that you're doing them in the order and have enough time to actually mentally prepare to sit for this 180 question test. So we actually say identify your knowledge gaps. So if you think that maybe you need to look at 1, 2, all 11 of those competencies, this is the time to do it. If you're not sure if you're going to meet those eligibility requirements, go into camp. You can find all of this information in the CFM handbook as well. But go into camp, start your application, fill in all of the information that it requires. Just don't push pay. At this point is where you can email our team, corporate connections at ifma.org, and we can have the credential manager review your application. And then she can reach out to you to say, yeah, you're good to go. Whenever you're ready to sit, submit it, and you're good. If she needs any more additional information, again, she'll let you know what needs to be added. And then at that point, you'll get your determination. So we want to make sure, because once your application has been approved, you'll actually only have 90 days to schedule your exam at your Prometric Testing Center. So the information in the 7 competencies when you sign up for the CFM Knowledge Workshop could take it up to 6 months to get through those virtual classes because of the way they're broken down. We want to make sure that they're done in bite-sized pieces because we don't want to overwhelm you, right? Again, you're already gearing up emotionally for this exam. So we want to make sure that you have enough time to prepare for it. And then at that point, once you have done all of your study, coursework and you're good, you're confident, at that point, submit your application so that you know that you have not left any stone unturned and that you are ready to sit for this exam.
And Gail, sorry, go
Go
ahead,
ahead,
Kim.
Starlin. No,
I was
after you.
I was just going to say that I think this is a really valuable slide, and I'm glad that we're going over it before we go into a little bit more detail about the knowledge workshop itself, because I have people reach out all the time and they have submitted their application and then they panic and they say,
Yep.
"Oh my gosh, I don't know, I have 90 days, but I want to take all this training." So that's why we put these step-by-step actions on here, is because yes, it's important to go ahead and start the process, but we also want you to go ahead and, if you are looking at training, if you are wanting to do some of the optional preparation, go ahead and take care of that first before you submit your application, because it does start a timer. It doesn't mean that you wouldn't be able to extend your ability to take the exam. There are extensions available, but they do come at a cost. So anyway, I think this is just a really valuable slide for people to be able to see kind of the step-by-step process before we get started into the knowledge workshop.
Exactly. If you take anything from this slide, it's don't submit your application with payment until you know you are ready to schedule the exam and go and sit for it. And you can do that without any training, any preparation. It is based on your level of knowledge and experience and expertise. However, if you would like to, first, identify if you have any knowledge gaps. Second, prepare for the exam, which is optional. And then third, you will submit your application for the exam. But as Gail and Starlin just so well stated it, submitting your application should be the last thing that you plan on doing, because once it's submitted, you've got to be ready to sit for that exam.
So, how to prepare the CFM Knowledge Workshop. You guys saw early on an earlier slide, there was the FMP and then the 7 additional competencies. And the CFM Knowledge Workshop is really focusing in on those 7 additional core competency courses. And there's really kind of 2 different ways that we do it. So you have online access to the self-paced core competency courses, but we have now paired it with instructor-led workshops. And on top of all of that, with the little sprinkles on top, is the CFM exam prep workshop, which we'll get into some more detail on that here in a few minutes. But it's also covering the methodology. So we're giving you the content and the methods to really help prepare you as best as possible for the CFM exam.
And I'd like to add in here, Starlin said the core competency workshops. These are the other 7. On one of the previous slides, you saw that 4 of the 11 competencies make up the FMP. The FMP is considered our foundational credential because that is the foundation, those 4 competencies. So with your amount of experience, if you're eligible to sit for the CFM exam, the CFM Knowledge Workshop assumes you've got that strong foundation. So it is 7 of those 11. And these are ones that are not maybe available, or are tasks that not every single FM will be doing in their role. Different companies, different industries, you may not have much exposure to real estate or sustainability and really need to dive deeper into those. So those are not the core or foundational competencies. And that's what the knowledge workshop is focusing on, because that's where more often than not, the gaps in knowledge appear are in those other 7 competencies. So I just wanted to make it clear it's not all 11, because you should have that strong foundation. And if you have any questions about that, I would encourage you, go ahead and take those 4. They stack together to form the FMP, and that's a lifelong credential that you can always have. I've seen the folks that are joining, we have an FMP in there. So again, as you're preparing for the CFM, you could go ahead and earn your FMP. But if you've got that strong foundation and you just have a few gaps you want to fill, this is the course that you need then, the CFM Knowledge Workshop.
So now we ask who should
There you go.
enroll.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And like Kim and Sarlin both have said previously, those FMs who are experienced and confident and ready to take the exam, but you might feel like you need to fill those gaps in knowledge, this is when the CFM Knowledge Workshop comes into play. And again, as Kim mentioned, those who hold the FMP credential, you're not required for the enrollment, but again, having that foundation in those 4 competencies will just build up to those remaining 7 because the FMP is that separate credential.
So when and where is it? This is going to be online. We with the workshops, there are weekly live workshops with an instructor that are 90 minutes long. The ones that we have scheduled so far in 2024 are actually going to be all on Tuesdays at this point at 11 a.m. Central Time. We will be having more classes scheduled throughout the rest of the year. So if that's something that doesn't sound feasible at this time, stay tuned. We will have more workshops that are being scheduled. And for the CFM exam prep workshop, which will, as I mentioned, go into a little bit more detail about what that covers, those are a little bit more flexible on dates and times, and we have several available. So you would be able to just go onto the course catalog and look through those different times and dates to be able to schedule that for you.
And now for the actual prep workshops that Starlin just mentioned. So this is going to cover the methodology of how the questions are written. Your instructor is going to provide tips and tricks. Because you only have 4 hours, we want to help you get through those easier questions so that you have a little bit of extra time for those questions that might have multiple possible answers for them. And so we want to make sure that you understand what you're going to be seeing whenever you sit for that exam. So this is the reason for the prep workshops. And as Starlin mentioned, they're spread out, sprinkled throughout the week. So it just depends on which workshop works best for you. They are a total of 4 hours, but they are spread out over 2 workshops. We do offer morning workshops and evening workshops. Again, the course catalog will lay all of that out for you. So if evening works better for you, they are available.
And what will I gain from the CFM Knowledge Workshop? So Gail mentioned it at the beginning of the webinar. This is fairly new for IFMA. We have always offered the 7 core competency courses as far as a complement to the FMP to help prepare for the CFM, but we've really tried to kind of make it a full package where you have the virtual instructor-led workshops for the ability to learn from your peers and really connect and network during this CFM Knowledge Workshop. Helps keep you accountable by having to show up on a weekly basis to visit with your peers and learn things about the 7 competencies. This is also at the same time simultaneously going to help you upskill at your job. As you're going through it, you're going to be learning valuable things that you can apply in your day-to-day and fill any knowledge gaps that you have along the way. And of course, last but very not least, we want you to feel confident walking into that CFM exam and feel ready to sit down and pass.
So we do have a couple of questions that we actually field, maybe not every day, but we have received these questions, and we wanted to cover just a couple of them to help answer any that you might have as you're sitting here watching the webinar. So Kim, do you have to be a member of IFMA to enroll in the CFM workshop?
You do not. You do not. But you will find that the pricing is definitely advantageous for members. We have a standard rate and then we have a member rate. So that's where it would help. But you do not need to be a member of IFMA to enroll in this or to earn any of our credentials, the FMP, the SFP, or the CFM.
Perfect. Starlin, what if I can't attend all the scheduled classes? What are my options or what can I do?
Not a problem at all. We intend for this to be flexible. And as I mentioned, there will be other courses scheduled throughout the year. So if something doesn't work for you and you see a course in the future that does, just shoot us an email. We'll be happy to work with you to make sure that you can be enrolled in a course that does work with your schedule.
Perfect. How do I know I'm ready to take the CFM? I think we've covered this on a couple of slides. If you feel confident, you're ready to go, perfect. Submit your application, get your exam scheduled. Review on the website and the course catalog any of the core competencies. If there's a little bit of information that, I'm just not ready, this is the workshop for you. Yes, Kim.
So I was going to say another way to be able to assess if you are ready to take the CFM exam is to take the self-assessment test or tool that IFMA offers. It is a very small fee to be able to go in and spend quality time in each of the competencies. We've got, I believe, is it over 300 questions that you do a self assessment of your knowledge in that topic area. So, this is another way that you would be able to feel confident that you are ready to take the CFM exam, because really the only person who can answer that question is you. You're the best person to know.
Exactly. So what happens if you've already purchased the core competency courses?
So for that, it's not a problem at all. If you'd like to add on the virtual workshops as well as the exam prep workshop, send us an email and we'll be happy to work with you to get that added on. And Gail, do you have to be an FMP to take this?
You do not. As Kim mentioned earlier, having knowledge and experience in those 4 foundational competencies will definitely improve your ability, I guess, to take the exam, because you'll already have confidence in those 4 topics. And then the workshop is there to just fill in the gaps that you may have in those 7 remaining competencies.
I want to go ahead and mention here also that if you are an FMP, we do have special pricing for FMPs that are interested in the CFM Knowledge Workshop to help you build on top of the FMP you've already learned to prepare for that CFM exam.
And I feel like both of you, Gail and Starlin, have answered this last one. How do I know I'm ready to take the CFM Knowledge Workshop? I've been hearing if you have a strong foundation in FM, and this is important, you know that you are, or you are at least 99% sure that you're going to meet the eligibility requirements, right? But as you're taking this, it could take, I saw somebody in the chat who mentioned that he spent 18 months preparing for the CFM exam. So if you feel that you're kind of at that cusp and you want to use the remaining time before you actually meet all of the eligibility requirements, then I think you are ready to take the CFM Knowledge Workshop. But let me ask it another way: who should not take the CFM Knowledge Workshop?
That's a great question, Kim. I think that if you are brand new to the industry, you're looking to kind of get started, we have other training programs available to really help you delve into the basics and the foundations of FM. I think that it would be better to go ahead and start along the path instead of just diving into the CFM Knowledge Workshop. It's not to say that you wouldn't benefit from the courses, but it would probably be better to go ahead and have a strong foundation before you step into these courses.
And earning those credentials or just filling gaps again could help kind of bid that time while you get that experience, because at that point you might not be eligible for the experience portion of the application.
Exactly. And if you're still building on those foundational areas, this could feel a bit overwhelming coming straight into the CFM Knowledge Workshop. So, really be honest with yourself and look to see, there's a statement: crawl, walk, run. You don't want to run before you can really get your feet up underneath you. And that's the same thing here. We don't want you to be overwhelmed. Great answers. Thanks.
All right, and here's the opportunity for you to sign up for the CFM Knowledge Workshop. We have this bit.ly code. If you scan it with your phone, it will take you directly to the link to be able to sign up and enroll for the CFM Knowledge Workshop. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that up on the screen for just a couple of minutes so that you guys can go ahead and scan. And if you're not quite ready for the CFM Knowledge Workshop, we do have other resources available for you. And we do have a way for you to test your knowledge to see exactly where to start. Gail, will you go into a little bit more detail about the Career Compass and just what that does?
Absolutely. So again, as Starlin just mentioned, if you're not sure where you are in your learning journey, the Career Compass is a quick 2-minute survey that will help us figure out where you are currently and where you're looking to go. We will be receiving an email alert that you have filled this out, and then we will actually reach out to you directly, so that we can have that conversation to see where you are and what your goals are. And based on what you tell us will help us figure out which program you're looking to go into. Is it a credential, or is it just filling gaps to maybe get that promotion that's right around the corner? And real estate you don't do, and that's what your promotion's based on. And then we could figure out, again, like through that conversation, where you want to be and then how we can help you get there. Dun dun dun.
And we've been saving the best for last for you guys. We want to go ahead and give you a little bit of a heads up. We will be having a Cyber Monday sale. It's going to be a really, really good one. So please tune in on Cyber Monday to see all the great deals that we'll be offering on our training and credentials.
So Cyber Monday is November 27th. So you'll definitely want to take a look. Make sure that you are following IFMA on LinkedIn or your social platform of choice, because we will be sharing out what this is. I will say I've been with IFMA over 20 years. I've never seen a Cyber Monday like this. So I encourage you to really keep your eyes open. But it's November 27th, right? It's the Monday after the U.S. Thanksgiving holiday. So
Correct.
Cyber Monday.
Yes, mark your calendars, set a meeting reminder, whatever you need to do to go tune in and see what we have available. It is going to be a huge sale. And as Kim mentioned, it's bigger than IFMA, I believe, has ever offered in the past. So definitely come take a look on Cyber Monday. We are going to be excited to see you there.
Yes. And when we say Cyber Monday, it truly is. It is just on the 27th. So if you've had a little bit too much turkey and you want to sleep through it, don't sleep through it, because these discounts or offers will not be held over or honored later in the week. It truly is only on November 27th. So, shall we take a look, ladies, at some of the questions that we may have been receiving
Sure.
while we've been doing um, our sharing all of this great information?
Sure. Let's take a look.
First of all, I want to thank Cassandra. She's been sharing a lot of links. So, for those of you following along, if this is right now while we're live or recorded, there are links directly to the CFM handbook, to the self assessment tool. There's also reminders of the email addresses to use. Here is where Robert had shared with us before 16 months of reading and training at his own pace. So took the exams for a couple of sections. The books are super valuable. So thank you so much, Robert, for sharing that. And I had seen that you have earned your FMP designation as well. So you definitely had a strong foundation in FM, and that it does take time to prepare. So going back to some of that slide where it had the steps, right? The first thing is really establish where are you in your confidence level that you are ready to sit for the CFM exam. And then if maybe you've been in FM for 20 years and you feel like you have encountered just about everything, just go straight in, submit your application, schedule your exam date at a Prometric testing center, take the exam. I think Rhonda, our credentialing manager, shared with us probably a third, at least, I think, who submit their applications. That's what they tell us. They're like, oh, I didn't train or do any training or additional prep work. I just went in and took the exam. Now, I can't tell you of those how many of them passed. I do not have that information. So it's the individual, right? Like, how do I know if I'm ready? If you feel confident, that's going to really help you. And you know what we haven't shared? What happens if you take the exam the first time and you don't pass?
You actually get a free retake.
That's right. That's right. So IFMA will give you a free retake. Sometimes, nerves get the best of us, or we all have off days. And that could give you, if you need another month or two, if there's an area that you're like, well, that came out of the left field. Let me go in and learn or study that a little bit more. You'll have a little bit more time to do that by scheduling that retake. But it should allow you to come in and maybe remove that fear of failure and just go, you know what? I've got another one coming from IFMA on this. And this is an interesting question. So, Gail or Starlin, Enosh is a facility management student studying facility and hygiene management. Let him know if he can take up the CFM as a fresher and a student. I'm assuming maybe because there's not a whole lot of experience. What would be your advice to Enosh?
Inosh, I would recommend that if you feel that you are maybe that you meet the eligibility requirements, maybe you've had a career in FM prior to becoming a student, I would encourage you to reach out to our credentials team first to see if the eligibility requirements are met. If not, that's absolutely okay. As we mentioned, we have a lot of other training and resources to take in the meantime. I would strongly encourage you to take a look at the FMP and at this knowledge workshop in preparation in that time frame if you're not quite to where you need to be on eligibility. If you do meet the eligibility requirements, as Kim mentioned, there's the self-assessment tool that we have available. I strongly encourage you to check that out, see if there's any knowledge gaps, and if maybe potentially this CFM Knowledge Workshop would be helpful in your journey.
Yeah, I think going all of the studying that you're doing, Anosh, is very valuable. At the heart of the CFM, though, is work experience. It's actually being in the facility, dealing with the unknown situations that come up and creating and executing solutions that haven't been put in place. Every facility is unique. Every issue may have elements that you've dealt with before, but the way that you are able to solve those and plan for things is crucial. And that's why studying and training and knowledge and reading, that gives you where information where you can make data-driven decisions, but you have to go through the experience of making those decisions, managing those complex facility projects that if it's a retrofit or if it's new construction, if it's really moving people out of an area of the facility and working with the different teams to minimize the disruption in their daily lives so that you can take care of what you need to do, dealing with on-site emergencies, on-site electrical fires. Having that experience is what the CFM requires. It doesn't require a degree. It doesn't require specific training. It requires you to have that experience. So like Starlin said, if you are a student along with professional experience, then go and look at the application because that's going to help you start really assessing, do I think I'm going to meet the eligibility requirements? It will round out your degree, but nothing replaces experience. So that's what I would encourage you to really add to your elements of success for the CFM.
Looks like we have one more question. Can you please talk about how the CFM needs renewal and points to do that?
Absolutely. So with the renewal, you'll recertify every 3 years, and you have a total of 6 activities that you must submit in order to keep your certification new. If you are an FM, a practicing FM for 3 years that you have your CFM, that is 3 activities of those 6 that you can submit for your recertification. Holding a leadership role in a chapter could also provide you an activity. There are so many. Attending events like our World Workplace or our Facility Fusion. Attending certain events will also provide activities. So they're not hard to do. I think a lot of people kind of, oh, I still have time. I still have time. Don't let the time go. As soon as you do whatever your activity is, get it turned in. So that's one less thing that you have to worry about. Because if you let it lapse, what do you have to do in order to become a CFM again? And that's going to be
You
You
take
have
the
to
test again.
You have to take the test. Yeah, yeah. And I'm gonna throw out IFMA is ANAB accredited, and what that means is a third party is watching everything that we do to ensure that we are abiding by our policies and procedures and following best practices. There's very specific methodology, which is one reason why we partner with Prometric because we have to make sure that this is you completing the exam that it is not somebody else pretending to be you. There's a lot of credibility that this certification provides. The CFM is the gold standard of certifications within facility management. And I will caution you as you're looking at the CFM, buyer beware. There are other organizations who will make the claim that they can help you prepare for the CFM exam. They are not associated with the IFMA in any way. If you feel that this is going to provide you with knowledge in the 11 competencies, it is your choice where you get that preparation. However, if you come to realize that maybe it didn't really have quality information and training, there's nothing IFMA can do about it. Just because they say it can help you prepare for the CFM, we can't stop an organization from saying that because the CFM doesn't require specific training, right? It's your experience. But people do like to feel confident and prepared, and they want to do something so that they know, okay, I have a really good chance at being successful. Nobody likes to feel like they're set up for failure. So I'm going to do what I can to feel prepared, and if I'm Googling things and I find an option and it's like, oh, for this small amount, I can get prepared. Just do your due diligence. Really look into what they're offering and are they accredited? How long have they been there? Do they have references? I mean, I don't want to get into all of that. What I can say is from IFMA's perspective, we understand that there may be gaps in your knowledge, and the training that we offer is based on a global job task analysis. It is globally based, and you'll find out when you're reading the CFM handbook and with the CFM exam prep portion of the CFM Knowledge Workshop that the questions are based on global facilities. And there is a certain approach that you need to have when you're taking the CFM exam. It is not what you would do in your facility in your region of the world. You're approaching facility management from a global perspective. And the answer that you choose um, is going to depend on you having that understanding. So when we say this is a CFM knowledge workshop, what we're saying is we've got the CFM exam prep, which is the methodology helping you to get a feel for how the questions are structured. The knowledge are those 7 competencies. And there is a live instructor that's going to cover the high points of each one of those chapters within the competencies. And then you have a final assessment at the end of each one that tests your comprehension. And then you're going to have a digital badge. You're going to have proof that you have that knowledge. There's so much to it. And we really appreciate you joining us today to be able to get more information, more knowledge, get ready, get prepared, and really know that this team is here to help support you. And I saw that there is one more that I want to bring in. Thank you so much, Travis. The ethics component. We had it on a slide, but I don't think we went too much into it. Gail or Starlin, it's up to you.
Go
Oh,
ahead,
go
Gail.
ahead.
Okay. Well, both of us obviously we deal with this question often. It is a piece obviously of the CFM eligibility requirements. There is an ethics portion. A lot of companies offer ethics training, and if not, that's okay. IFMA also offers an ethics training. I encourage you to reach out again to our credentials team if you have questions about whether or not your ethics training qualifies or anything along those lines. They are going to be the very best resource for you and will say yay or nay. And then we'll also provide you with additional information if additional ethics training is needed.
But it is a required piece, whether you go through your employer or through IFMA to complete your CFM.
And I don't know if we meant, I think our ethics course is $20
Mhm.
or something. It really highlights that the certification has an ethics component. And if there is anything that's unethical, for example, if you don't finish or if you don't have an ethics component, you cannot achieve your CFM. And you know, we want to show that a knowledgeable FM needs to have that ethics to it. There's so much that the facilities teams do for organizations, and ethics is such a big part of it. And so I asked our credentials manager, has anybody ever lost their CFM because they were unethical? And she said yes. And if you think that something won't come to light, I think we all know in our lives, yeah, sooner or later it's going to play out. And you just, I just want you to know it does matter. And IFMA will take action if something is proven to have an ethical ambiguity or not even ambiguous. So ethics, that's why there's a course. It is required. You do need it in order to have your CFM. And but you only have to take it once. Once you've got your CFM certification, the only requirement then is to go through the recertification. And the recertification is meant to just ensure that you are staying on top of current developments, because I think I said this at the beginning of our webinar, the field of FM, this profession has changed and will continue to change as we move forward. And it's only becoming more and more critical because FM is an organizational function. And so, as we leave you with all of this great information, please know that you can reach out to Starlin and Gail at corporateconnections@ifma.org. You can reach out to our credentialing team with questions about eligibility at credentials@ifma.org. We appreciate the time that you've spent with us, and we hope that we have clarified some things for you. Again, if you have any questions, this is too important to take a guess or, just jump into an area and not know that it's the right one. Reach out to us. This is what we love to do, and we look forward to talking with you in the future or celebrating with you as you become a CFM.
Always here to celebrate.
You guys have
Thank
a
you,
wonderful day.
everybody.
Thank you so much for joining us. And don't forget, Cyber Monday, come back and see us.
November 27th.